Welcome back. This is my Titan Trains 1/8 scale flat car. This is my passenger carrying car. So if we look on the top side, which is currently upside down, you can see the pedestal bases there for the boat seats. But now that I have completed the gas to electric locomotive conversion, I have an air brake system on it. So I have a 24-volt air compressor, a paintball air tank, I believe 48 cubic inches of volume, and that'll run the air brakes on the cars. So, thought you might like to see this. These are Titan's trucks with Titan's brakes on a Titan car, so everything here is on the Titan's design and follow-up. I did buy their air brake assembly, however, I did not buy their airline kit. So all their airlines I put together out of my own parts. And I'll show you what I did here. So these trucks I take on and off a lot. So the couplers, how you connect the airline at the end of the car, there is a fitting here, and the air hose attaches to it. This would go to the next car in your train, and the fitting remains on the car. This is a Schrader valve inside of there. It's not just a threaded fitting. There's actually a valve in there. Maybe you can see it, probably not, but it's just like the Schrader valve inside an air stem on a car tire. So what that does for you is at the end of your train, when you take this line off, it automatically closes this line, and you don't have to put a plug there or a quarter turn valve or something. That way you don't have a brake leak. So that's a very nice feature that's built into these Clippered fittings. Now, since I mentioned that these trucks come on and off a lot for shipping in between different railroads and home, I put another set of those fittings down below. So again, that's that end of car fitting. We've got another one of these threaded female fittings here. Now this airline is free, and I can slide this truck right off of the bolster, take it on and off really easy. We'll go ahead and put these lines back on. Grab the one at the end of the car here. And this guy. So pretty easy to do. Of course, we'll be upside down when we're actually at the track. And on my controller, I simply have an air brake set and release, and that just opens up a solenoid valve and allows the air to go to the brakes. And if I engage them, you'll see that brake cylinder move and the brake set up. Here we go. And release. Air compressor kicks on. It runs for a pretty short amount of time. Again, it's already off. And when these brakes set up, it's currently sitting at about 50 psi, which may be too much. Again, I only have an actual brake cylinder on my riding car, so since there's a lot of weight here, I shouldn't have a whole lot of problem with the wheels locking up and sliding down the track. But if this was an empty car, this much pressure would definitely lock them up to where these wheels are just sliding. It takes a lot to turn these. They're real stiff, so it should help the braking pretty well. The locomotive has regenerative brakes, and will slow the train down to about half a mile an hour or so, maybe a little bit less. So really the air brakes are just for emergency situations, or when you're coming down the hill. Maybe it starts putting a little bit of rain down when you're out on a lap and you need a little bit more braking power. So mostly just for peace of mind. Then of course down on this end, it's the same setup too for that truck, and the fitting to go to the next car in the train. I'll also show you here while you're with me. Completed up a Sprayberry hopper car here. It's a model of a 55-ton offset hopper, lettered for the Wheeling and Lake Erie Railroad. I do not have brake cylinders on the trucks, but I did install an airline right down there. So at least the car is plumbed, so if I have a passenger car behind it that has brakes on it, it will operate the brakes as intended. I'll put the part number for the fittings in the description down below. But here we have some of them from Clippered Fittings. You can get these from Airline Hydraulics. MQC-V3 female quick connect valve. That is this valve body assembly here, I do believe. MQC-F 1/8 inch ID hose quick connect cap. That is the threaded assembly here. There's also a barb tee. On the back side of this valve body, there's another 1032 threaded barb by 1/8 inch hose. That is this part number here, Clippard CT4-PKG. You can see what that barb fitting looks like there. Now, if you're going to use these Clippard fittings and you don't want to use a hose clamp on them, which good luck getting an actual hose clamp to get a good grip on a 1/4 inch OD pipe, you do have to use the Clippard urethane hose. There's something special about the way this hose is made where you can push it on a barbed fitting and it does not leak air. And I've even tested all these fittings with a little soapy water, make sure nothing leaks. It holds the air pressure real well. I waited for about 5 minutes here and it didn't drop off of that 50 psi, so it's holding nicely. Word to the wise, if you're installing one of these fittings here, do not over tighten them. When I went to apply air, I heard some air hissing out of this guy and I looked. I ended up cracking it. See if we can get the camera to focus there. You can see there's a crack there. I'm opening it up a little bit by bending it. But I ended up cracking this fitting and it was leaking air. So, you know, you don't need to be the Incredible Hulk and over tighten these guys. Well, we'll see how she works. I haven't actually used them yet on the track, but there's the setup. Should do nicely. Great to have in emergency situations. There's a helpful website I found. If I can find it again, I'll put it in the description below. If you're doing an air brake setup, you may find it useful. Thanks for watching.